What's up and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan. I'm here with my co-host Dave Martinson. Dave, some sad news today, man. A show that we really like, Mr. Robot, Sam Esmail, showrunner, director, writer, confirmed that this upcoming season, which will be airing in 2019, is going to be the last season of the show. What are your thoughts around this news and your just feelings around it as well?
Yeah, I mean, as a big fan of Mr. Robot through the highs and the lows, it's definitely disappointing on that end. On the other hand, I'm not super surprised, given that Sam Esmail was, involved with Homecoming, Julie Roberts show, and Briar Patch, the Andy Greenwald pilot, and it just seemed like he was really expanding as a creator and a producer. So I'm not surprised to see that happen, considering he never communicated a super long-term vision of the show in general. So it sucks as a fan, just because I trust that if they kept the show going, it would continue to maintain its high quality. But all good things come to an end.
Yeah, I'm super bummed about it, just because it's probably my current favorite show on television. I mean, obviously Game of Thrones not on this year, that's up there, but Mr. Robot just holds such a special place, because I feel like it's one of those, as we're just entering the post-peak TV era, one of those surprises, one of those shows that kind of popped up and caught a lot of buzz, and not as many shows do that anymore. So it's just, we've seen Rami Malek break out. Obviously, we're going to be talking about him a little bit later when we talk about Papillon, but overall, just bummed, but excited to see what Sam Esmail does after Mr. Robot. I'm buying his season pass, so we'll be talking about those two shows that you mentioned and probably whatever else he does moving forward. So stay tuned. And if you want to hear that content, hit that subscribe button below. Go to soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod. We stay plugging, and hit us up on Twitter at nostalgiapod to catch up on all the news that we don't talk about on the podcast. We're going to jump into some music here. This is a album I did not expect us to be talking about, but I'm actually really glad we are. Blood Orange's Negro Swan. What a really pleasant surprise this album was. What was your initial reaction to hearing it?
Yeah, I thought it sounded great and has really great lyrics that are both accessible and pretty poignant and matter of fact of the times right now. So yeah, I thought it was really awesome.
Yeah, it was so eclectic, and Devin Hines. This is his fourth album as Blood Orange. He's been around since the early 2000s. 2004, he broke out with a band called Test Icicles, and then from there he's been doing a lot of producing, writing for other people, and obviously working, releasing albums under Blood Orange. But he's a really interesting sound and musician, because he's very eclectic. There's a lot of R&B and chill wave rock in here, but then also influences of hip hop. There's ASAP Rocky and was it Pretty Pat or Plain Pat? Project Pat. Mm-hmm. Plain Pat is Cuddy's old producer, right?
Yeah, Plain Pat, what up?
Yep. So man, I mean, why don't we dive into a couple either of the songs or things that really stood out to you about this album? Any songs in particular that you loved or liked?
Yeah, I thought I think it was one of the lead singles. Already has a video anyway. Charcoal Baby.
Yeah,
was really, really good. That's where he mentions the titular Negro Swan, and you kind of understand what that means. And I thought that song, really good video as well, is a pretty powerful song, but also sounds really good. It's not like a grating listen or anything. So that stood out to me. And I thought Chewing Gum actually was really cool too. Apart from Rocky and Project Pat as features, I just thought I liked what Dev was doing on that song. It sounded cool. I mean, you mentioned all the genres. I think that's kind of what shines about this album, is that he, tackles some, heavier themes while jumping around all different kinds of sounds. There's a lot of even smooth pop on this and soulful moments too. So I think there's a lot to like on here, and I think most people that would listen to this record will at least find something that they enjoyed, given there's a lot here.
Yeah, and he ties it together seamlessly, like you said, and he does it with these interesting change ups. Like you talk about Charcoal Baby, and I mean, it's a really good song, and then it hits that 4 minute mark, and pretty much everything but the guitars like kind of fall out, and it's very spindly like guitars. Then all of a sudden you hear this like flute solo, and then in come the synths and the horns, and it's a really epic ending to that song and really beautiful. And the same thing with what you're talking about with the song with ASAP and Project Pat, where it switches up there at the end, and I think that's really when I think it's Rocky probably jumps in and kind of gives his part. I also really liked the opening track Orlando. I thought it was like very like smooth and a great way to kind of lead you into this album that takes you in so many different directions. And Nappy Wonder also stood out to me. Just I just really like that song. It's very like a lot of fun to listen to. Were you familiar with Blood Orange prior to listening to this album?
So it's interesting. I never really dived into his music. I listened to the other three records leading up to Negro Swan over the weekend, and I always seen his name out there. I felt like he was at every festival. You know, he was always at least one of them every year. It seemed. But good on him. He's a UK guy. Get that paper. But yeah, I never really dived in, and listening to the other three records, which four albums since 2011, pretty solid output, and it seemed like this is kind of like the evolution of where he started with Coastal Grooves in 2011. Just continuing to get more diverse and just more experimental as the albums came out. So it was definitely cool to catch up on this music.
Yeah, he's a true artist, and it's also cool to see that he's been doing production for so many big people. I mean, he kind of reminds me in a way Francis and the Lights. He's definitely way more eclectic, and I think a little bit more talented, like with the instrumentally than Francis, but just similar in terms of coming up and how they're making a name for themselves now. Talking about people making a name for themselves, BTS, dude. Tell the people what BTS's most recent record, Love Yourself Answer, has done.
Yeah, so BTS, K-pop outfit, who have been buzzing in the East for a minute now, but I thought they really hit a new level and really got onto my radar earlier this year when their record, what was it?
Love Yourself
Tear dropped at the end of May, and it was the number one album on the Billboard 200 here in the U.S. 135,000 equivalent units, which was obviously their best debut in the States, but more importantly, the first K-pop act to top the chart over here, and just the overall top charting Asian act in the U.S. So definitely historic, and definitely a sign that they were permeating over here. And they followed that up recently with this new music. It makes sense to keep putting this out. And this new album, which we're talking about, is more of a compilation of older songs from last year plus some new ones. But the new single, Idol, broke the YouTube record for most streams in a 24-hour period, beating out Taylor Swift's Look What You Made Me Do, the new record with 45 million streams in 24 hours, which is absurd. Because obviously, while BTS is gigantic, they're not selling over 1 million records first week like Taylor Swift's Reputation did.
Right.
But the fact that the BTS army is such a dedicated fandom that they could, get this record.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, and just really, waves the flag for anyone who wasn't paying attention that K-pop is a lot different now, and a really viable commercial force. So what did you think, like, listening to them for the first time?
Well, it's interesting because I heard them performing Idol because I just ended up watching the last 30 minutes of the MTV Music Awards. So maybe it was the last hour or so, but they actually performed there, which I thought was really cool to see a K-pop band, performing on MTV, another indication of their arrival. And listen to the record. It's very, it's an interesting mix of pretty standard pop with hip hop in it, and obviously that's highlighted by Nicki remixing and being featured on Idol at the end of the album. Just kind of reading about these guys and seeing their rise. I think the thing I admire most about them is just how they've basically taken the road less traveled, and that's actually elevated them to the next level of stardom in K-pop, which I wasn't as aware of how big this was. That it's been really dominating pop outside of pretty much like the UK and America. K-pop has been like the biggest force in pop for the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we all remember Psy briefly
right.
dominated with Gangnam Style, but yeah, BTS is interesting because they're different than a lot of these K-pop acts that started popping up in the '90s because they were not just a total label creation, right? They actually seem like real artists who have like real interests and they're presenting their actual selves in the band. And that's kind of what's endearing to their fandom, which is you got to respect that. And to your point about the music itself, I did think most of the production felt pretty samey, like pretty homogenous. Felt like a handful of sessions. That they had a vibe they were going for. I didn't think there was a fair amount of variation of the types of songs they made, even if they sounded different, which was pretty cool. I mean, you mentioned the hip hop influences. Their frontman RM, that used to stand for Rap Monster. He's actually pretty interesting because he's he's fluent in English and he does most of like the lead in their interviews, and he's obviously actually a pretty capable rapper. I'd like to even hear more of that. But other than that, they didn't like localize all their stuff. Like they didn't make an English language album. There's Korean stuff, and they even tried Japanese albums before, but I think they're moving away from that.
Yeah, it fell flat.
So it's just interesting to see that because like Japanese video games and anime that gets localized. That's the only way it really gets consumed here in the West. Every anime gets dubbed, and all the Japanese games get subtitled, dubbed as well, or new voice acting, right? So the fact that in music you don't actually have to do that here. You don't have to record it in a new language. You can just put it out, and it's something. And we talked about 88 Rising recently with their Head in the Clouds label album and Rich Brian's Amen earlier in the year, and they're another similar small outfit and Big Hit Entertainment. They're the label behind BTS, and they were brand new. They're like
a startup basically.
They came up, so it's a whole very interesting scene. I think Jay Park is another name I've been paying attention to. He's like, I think he's 30, 31, but he's a Korean dude who signed to Rock Nation last year and dropped a rap EP this summer after being more of an R&B artist. So just in between him and BTS, obviously, all the other K-pop acts that are popping and 88 Rising, I mean, it just seemed like Asian artistry is really, having a moment, and I think was continuing to make inroads here in the West, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I think a really interesting piece of this, you kind of talked about like the localization versus what BTS is kind of known as like narrative because a lot of their albums kind of flow together or have like a story behind them. It's kind of like how the artistry is shifting in different directions and both have successes. Someone like was it named Blackpink, I think, who almost broke the Taylor Swift streaming record with her release Doo Doo, which I love the name. I think earlier this year.
It's a pretty good song.
I haven't checked it out, but when I was reading, I was like, damn, like it's amazing to see like how these two different kind of ways of making music are still pumping it out, and it feels like there's almost going to be like a battle between like what's like the right way. And obviously they both can exist. We talk about that all the time, but it just is really interesting to see if it's going to be this formulaic way or if they're going to let the artistry kind of play out, which BTS has obviously done. I think they're here to stay, dude. Like they are enormous right now.
Oh yeah, I want to see what these first week numbers are for Love Yourself Answer, just because they're continuing to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and each one of them is so famous. I mean, they're doing bigger numbers than One Direction ever did. If we're thinking like the boy band angle, so they're gigantic. So I mean, I don't know. I just want to see where this goes because it's a 7-member group. How long will they stay together? But
right. Yeah.
So successful.
That was the thing I was thinking is someone like RM who is fluent in Korean and English. I mean, he has the potential to be just an enormous star, like Harry Styles on like steroids almost. Sure. So, any songs other than Idol that you liked from the album?
Yeah, I thought Her was pretty cool. Like I'm Fine, Euphoria.
Yeah, Euphoria stood out to me.
And again, like neither me nor you, we don't understand Korean, obviously, but I feel like this is well-made pop music that you can still listen to and jam out to, and I don't know, follow along, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they do mix in some English here and there, but yeah, kind of like Higher Brothers, I guess, from Idiot Rising. It's like I don't need to totally understand
Right.
everything to get the vibe.
Yeah, it was perfect music. When I was doing my second listen today, to be sitting down at work and have it in the background, just like a mood booster and something that kept me kind of going and tuning in and out throughout the day. So definitely check that out and give us your feedback. Leave a comment if you like BTS, or if you for some reason do not like them. We want to hear from you and engage in this discussion. Something I'm interested to see if you liked, because I wasn't a huge fan of it. Papillon. Remake of the 1973 classic with Steve McQueen and Dustin Hoffman. This one stars Charlie Hunnam as Papillon and Rami Malek as Dega. We start off with Mr. Robot. I think Rami is such has been on such a heater recently. Like, everything he does seems to be awesome, and we're going to be talking probably about Bohemian Rhapsody as something we're looking forward to seeing in one way or the other this fall in a second. I left this movie pretty disappointed. And maybe my expectations were too high to begin with, but I was really expecting to come out loving this movie, and I found it just okay.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was pretty inert as a film. It was quite long, yet it didn't feel like it achieved what it was trying to do.
Right.
Which I think ultimately the relationship between Papillon and Dega didn't really land for me. And then you combine that with the total lack of interesting direction. Like, the original from 1973 was directed by Franklin Schaffler. He's the guy who made Planet of the Apes and Patton, movies with fucking memorable ass shots.
Yep.
There's not a memorable shot in this new Papillon remake, which is really disappointing, because while they didn't make the movie in French Guiana, they still shot it on location. And I just was expecting it to look better than it did. Didn't really look special. And yeah, it just kind of was by the numbers, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you talk about the relationship between them. I mean, obviously, it's a beneficial relationship in terms of Dega gets the protection he needs and Papillon gets the funding to continue to try to break out of jail. But at no point did I ever feel like there was a switch to like brotherhood that I think you're supposed to feel.
Not a chance.
It just felt kind of like I was just like, damn, dude, just get off this fucking island, please. Like, I just wanted him to get off so bad.
And I think that his refusal to give up Dega's name and his intervening when Dega was getting beaten, which ultimately got him, in the solitary. I was like, I don't understand your motivation. I just didn't think it was earned. And that's unfortunate, because I thought Hunnam was actually pretty good in this. I mean, I think he's better in Lost City of Z, but Hunnam does a lot good here, because he has a lot of solitary scenes. I think the stuff when he's in solitary alone acting is pretty good. Yep. But Rami Malek, a guy we both like, and can be very electric, as we know, I just thought Dega was pretty one note. He never demonstrated his value. He has some money up his ass. Whoop-de-doo. Like, he just, I don't know. You thought he would have been more cunning or just smarter, but no, he just seemed like he was constantly in the way and holding Papillon back. So the relationship just didn't seem to work, and I thought Michael Noer's direction did not help the movie at all. I think this was made by a more well-known filmmaker who just had better bona fides. I think he probably could have, built it up, because at the end of the day, I think there's entertaining moments in it, and the story itself is pretty cool. So there was something good in here, which reminds you, oh wait, it's because it's a remake. So there was something good already.
Also, to kind of harken back to your point about the the memorable shots, the one I think I remember the most is them on the boat. I think I remember it because I was like, oh, this looks a lot like Life of Pi. Like it, and that's the thing is, it was just kind of like, it felt like they had so much potential there. And, Rami Malek, like you said, very one note. Charlie Hunnam, I every time I see him, he's just Jax Teller, but except for Lost City of Z, that was a little different for me.
I think a part of that, this is a movie about Frenchmen getting sent to a French penal colony in the early 20th century. and they're all speaking in their English accents. There's no effort to make it feel authentic, really.
Yeah.
I also thought the whole beginning part where we see Papillon get framed and arrested was totally unnecessary. We should just start the movie with him in line going to the colony. I don't like so some a missed opportunity for sure, because this is a movie that could have been a cool remake. It's I haven't actually seen the original one. Something I want to see, given the lineage. I mean, it was co-written by Dalton Trumbo too. Like there's a lot of talent in that one, but this sounded like it should have been successful on paper, but it just needed, I think, better people behind it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Apparently, I was looking up Michael Noor's experience, and his 2014 film Northwest. It's actually Nordvest, but it's Slavic, I believe. Is pretty well reviewed on Rotten Tomatoes. I checked it out. It's 10 reviews. It has 90. So definitely needed somebody with more experience at the helm. But it's a watchable movie, just not one.
It's not bad. I don't think it's bad, but just disappointing.
Yeah. Why don't we jump into some things we're excited for this fall? We've been wanting to kind of do this, and we had to put some things on the back burner so we could get to this because it's just nonstop. But there's a lot of really exciting projects coming out in TV, film, and why don't we start with movies? What are you looking forward to this fall?
Yeah, so we're actually talking about this at a pretty good time because the Venice Film Festival is currently underway right now, and then starting on the 6th September, the Toronto International Film Festival will kick off as well. And those two are the last two big film festivals of the year, as we know, and really kick off the fall season. Most Oscar bait movies intended to garner awards usually want to premiere there. So some movies don't even have their release dates yet. We'll get them once they premiere there. But, with that being said, I think the whole fall slate's pretty stacked. There's a lot of movies I'm excited for, both big and small. And that's, leading into, I think this has been a strong year for movies. Whether you look at the big filmmakers we've already seen movies from, we've seen Coogler, Spike Lee, Spielberg, Wes Anderson. We've seen a lot of people. Then who are we waiting for? Alfonso Cuarón, Steve McQueen, Damien Chazelle, Barry Jenkins, the Coen brothers, Adam McKay. It's pretty stacked. So I'm very excited for the fall movie season. Do you have anything that you're really looking forward to?
I have two different bubbles of things I'm looking forward to. I'll start with the ones that I'm looking forward to for the reason of these could be great or they could flop, and I feel like there's no in between. Sure. Those two are Bohemian Rhapsody and Aquaman. Yeah. Those two films I think are on the cusp of either being really, really big or people kind of leaving being like, damn. What a missed opportunity. Aquaman in particular is interesting because we saw some of Jason Momoa as Aquaman in Justice League, and I think people liked his take, but we only saw very small parts of it. And this is underwater movies are not easy to make. So if this is another flop for DC, man, I don't know. It could be something that really sets them back. Now, obviously, they had Wonder Woman last year, but if you only have basically Superman and Wonder Woman to bank off of, I don't know. It wouldn't be good. Now, Bohemian Rhapsody is a little different. There's been so many problems with the production that I'm just interested to see if they can kind of pull things together or if this is going to be like a solo type situation where they just do the best of what they got and it will be enjoyable because it's Queen and it's Rami Malek playing Freddie Mercury. But it could be a huge miss or just really disappointing. So, any thoughts around those movies or anything else?
I agree with you. I think Aquaman, I think that the trailer reiterates the tone is lighter, something that DC sorely needed, more or less. So they understand the strengths of Wonder Woman, I would say, broadly. So we'll just see, how the movie does, because I think the CGI third act that you can see in the trailer looks fucking really crazy. So just what is the rest of the movie? Because there's a lot of talent in that film, and they got multiple villains in there. So I think it has good potential, but I think DC would really like it to be a solid 8. And I agree with you on Bohemian Rhapsody as well. There's just a lot we don't know about how the film kit turned out. Similar vein, what about on October 5th, Venom? We've talked about Venom before. We've seen some more trailers since we talked about it. I think it's a similar boat where it could surprise a lot of people, or it could be pretty bad.
I'm
Again,
leaning pretty bad right now.
yeah, I want it to be good. At the other hand, though, it's like, are any of us actually rooting for the Sony Spider-Man universe
Right.
separate from the MCU that's still tangentially connected to the MCU due to Tom Holland?
Mm-hmm.
Do any of us really care about that? This is really the first reboot of that, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know how invested I am in it, but it's coming.
I thought the CGI Venom actually looks good, but then I hear Tom Hardy open his mouth and deliver lines, and it's just awful. Like he's doing, I don't really even know what the accent is, and
he continues to make the most obscure,
bizarre
ridiculous choices, which is really frustrating given the talent he has.
And the hardest thing about Venom should always be getting the CGI and Venom as a character right. But if you can't even get the human part of it right, then it's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. So I did want to shout out a couple movies I'm really excited for. I have 5 of them, and we can kind of jump off whichever one. So I have First Man, Widows, Creed, A Star Is Born, and Beautiful Boy. Those are my 5 that I'm most looking forward to this fall. Any of those that you're also looking forward to that you want to definitely dive into?
Oh, for sure. I mean, First Man got rave reviews opening up Venice. People are saying it's a step up for Damien Chazelle, and this is the dude who already made Whiplash and La La Land, so that's really
ridiculous.
Reiterates the fact that he's the next Spielberg in American filmmaking. Excited as fuck for that. Mm-hmm. Beautiful Boy. That trailer, only at the one trailer right now, but Chalamet looks like he's the best actor frontrunner for this.
Yeah. Award season's going to be renamed Chalamet season here.
Chalamet season is coming. I'm so stoked. That looks great. Widows, Steve McQueen. He hasn't put out a movie since 12 Years a Slave, and the cast is absolutely absurd.
Stacked.
Perhaps the strongest cast of the year. So the combination of those two should sell everyone. Right. Then Creed 2. I mean, I think Creed is the second best Rocky movie. Mm-hmm. Ryan Coogler was really good. Creed 2 is not from Ryan Coogler, but they have all the other parts coming back, and Drago's son sounds like a perfect, way to make this movie. So,
young Drago. Hell yeah, dog. No, I mean, it's going to be, and A Star Is Born is the one we didn't talk about there, but I think that's one that is kind of on the bubble, but everything I've heard about it is that going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, we already talked about one remake today. This is what, the 3rd remake of A Star Is Born, right? All of which have talented co-leads before. So every time I've seen the trailer a million times thanks to MoviePass, and
when Gaga starts singing, dog.
Every time Gaga sings, I think it's The Shallow is what everyone's calling it.
Yeah.
We still don't have the full version of that song. That song sounds awesome. So
I get chills every time, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. For sure. A little sooner, actually, next weekend. I'm looking forward to The Predator from Shane Black.
Yeah.
I like Shane Black a lot. He makes really unique films, and even a movie like Iron Man 3, which some people don't like. He did different things with Iron Man. So I think him doing different things with Predator is really exciting, because Predator is a franchise that has a really good first movie and a pretty solid sequel, and that's really it. So anything you can do to jumpstart that IP, I'm down with. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
We should probably move on to TV and music here, not go too far into movies. But Mowgli is coming out October 19th, and this is going to be the second Jungle Book.
No, it's not though. It got pushed back already.
Back?
Yes. And that's despite the fact that this movie was shot in 2012, 13. So I think WB is selling it to Netflix. So that movie is, speaking of Bohemian Rhapsody, that movie, we have no idea what the fuck's going on with Mowgli. Yeah, it's not coming out this year.
All right. So slash that from the record. Something that we'll be talking about when it finally gets to Netflix. That's not good. All right. Well, why don't we jump into some TV then? I mean, is there any TV shows that will be coming out that you're super stoked for, or that you're at least intrigued by?
Well, we'll be talking about The Deuce season 2 premiere next week. David Simon, that was a show we talked about at great length the first season last year on HBO. So really excited to see that, as they switch time periods a bit. Still got Franco and Gyllenhaal in there, Dominique Fishback, great cast, and of course the combination of Simon and George Pelecanos is pretty damn dynamite. So we'll be talking about that a lot, obviously. But I'm also looking forward to some newer shows. The 23rd Maniac on Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
the reunion of Jonah Hill and Emma Stone
Yep.
with Cary Fukunawa. Sounds dope. It's like a psychological show. Looks really cool. And then on the 12th, The Romanovs on Amazon from Matthew Weiner, his follow-up to Mad Men.
Yeah.
And Amazon's actually airing that once a week, which I think is a great idea to, keep the content mill going. So those are my top choices. But I'm also looking forward to Homecoming in November from Julia Roberts on Amazon as well.
So I wanted to ask, did you see this movie Kidding, or this TV show Kidding with Jim Carrey that's going to be premiering next week?
Right, yeah, Jim Carrey comeback, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be his first time on TV in what, like a couple decades? I can't even think of
what kind of left Hollywood in general over this decade.
And he's playing this like Mr. Rogers type character who gets his personal life rocked by I don't know, something that happens. I'm guessing some sort of loss, and then how he's dealing with that. And it's on Showtime, so I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna watch it. But I'm really interested to see if you can pull that off and what that return looks like. American Vandal season 2 is coming back, which was a show I think we mentioned tangentially in past episodes, but never really went too deep into. And I really enjoyed that first season. It was just some of the funniest, we talk about the dick to dick jerk off in Silicon Valley. And this is like the funniest dick humor since that, in my opinion. It was just dumb humor that you could enjoy. The Good Place coming back later on in September. Which is going to be just phenomenal. I'm all in on that show. Are you going to watch the last season of The Big Bang Theory, Dave?
No. Are you going to watch the last season of House of Cards, sans Kevin Spacey?
Nah, dog. I haven't watched that in three seasons.
I am excited for season 2 of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, though. No release date yet, but
it'll be up.
That show's last year. Very excited.
Just kind of like scrolling through the other shows I had here. There's nothing that really jumps off the page too much.
Looking forward to Little Drummer Girl.
Okay.
Sometime in November.
Tell me about that one.
Yeah, that's I believe it's on FX, and that is I want to say it's a John le Carre adaptation. Let me fact check that, but FX is in an interesting spot right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The High Castle season 3 is coming back. I think we talked about how we're out on that.
Yeah, Little Drummer Girl is a le Carre novel, so a show about that. We recently got a Night Manager miniseries, which was really cool, and this one has a Skarsgård, Michael Shannon, and Florence Pugh, and Charles Dance. So I think that should be pretty great.
Also, I wanted to grab your thoughts on this because this is something we've reviewed in the past. Andrew Lincoln is leaving Walking Dead. Where are you at with that show right now? Are you still into it?
No, I've been out on Walking Dead. The Walking Dead a few seasons ago made it pretty darn clear that it wasn't actually interested in plot. It was just interested in existing and continuing to go through the motions.
Yeah.
And some people like that. No shame in that, but it lost its prestige merits some time ago. And I do think that's interesting that the show will, go on without Rick Grimes, the protagonist, the lead. And Andrew Lincoln, he got quite the bag from this show for a long time. So
get that bag.
I think he's confident in his ability that he can walk away now. So I'm just interested to see how the show goes on from that, because I do read about it from time to time, and actually was hearing that Fear the Walking Dead spinoff actually really came into its own recently, and it's probably a better show because it has different intentions. So AMC, the Walking Dead franchise is its bread and butter post Better Call Saul and Mad Men. So it's interesting to see how this will pan out.
One more show I wanted to highlight, talking about seeing how it's going to move on without its main character, The Connors, which, Roseanne came back earlier. Was it this year? It's crazy. And it dominated the ratings, got a shout out from our president. And then all the political stuff happened, and now Roseanne will not be part of it. It's been alluded that she's going to be killed off and it's going to focus on the other characters. I'm interested to see how that show does, if it still is the ratings darling or if losing, its title name character really affects it. So definitely a lot of interesting TV shows to be looking at, following, buying all the subscriptions or stealing them from your friends to watch all the different services. So to check those out. Now, music is interesting because I think we know a couple albums are coming up, but there's also a lot that are expected to come out that don't have release dates yet. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, of things that are announced, I'm obviously looking forward to the new Brockhampton album, third name change. Now it's called Iridescence, coming out in September, recorded in London, they say. So it's on the horizon. So I'm very excited for that.
So pumped for that, dog. I can't wait.
Other than that, JID and No Name supposed to be dropping in September sometime. And Logic actually recently announced he's dropping Young Sinatra 4, his follow-up to his very successful cult mixtape series, Young Sinatra, that really brought him his first fans. And that was really when he was really just about being your rapper's favorite rapper and rapping over fucking Biggie beats and shit. So I'm excited to see Logic getting back to what he does best on the 28th. So that's pretty exciting. But what are you looking forward to?
Well, some recent ones that are coming out or that will be coming out soon. Waxahachie, following up their album from, I think it was last year, was really, really well done. And they're just a great indie artist to be following. A lot of really, really good female indie artists right now. So they're coming out soon. Something that doesn't have a date yet, but I mean, when this comes out, I'm expecting it to be my album of the year. Mitsubishi Macchiato, which from Vampire Weekend.
If it comes out.
I think it will. They've started touring. They're playing shows. They're going to be releasing the music soon. Release the tapes. I don't know. Jungle's album I'm kind of interested in a couple weeks.
How about 21 Pilots on October 5th?
I was just about to say, speaking of things that could either go really badly or really poorly, their recent singles haven't really done it for me, but I've seen a lot of people who are kind of out on them saying, this sounds kind of like a return to the 21 Pilots from Vessel. Like they might be able to get down with this. So we might see a 21 Pilots resurgence with this album. Really interested with that. Alt J, I'm interested to see because their last album I really didn't like, and they're dropping.
It's a remix album.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, isn't it's a remix of that album you didn't like, I think. Yeah.
Oh, well then I'm not excited for that. I mean, other than that, there's nothing that, I mean, is there going to be a Gambino album? I don't know.
I don't think so. Actually, friend of the pod, Darrell Harris, was talking about it today. I think he released This Is America, which I think is a one-off single. And the Summertime Pack, those two songs sound very evergreen. He just kind of threw them out there. And then we remember, he hasn't toured since 2014. So he didn't actually tour Awaken My Love. So I think this is the Awaken My Love plus This Is America tour.
Interesting.
I don't think an album is close. Although on the other hand, he did sign that big deal earlier in the year. So he probably does have some music obligations soon. But, I don't think it's close. Something that could be close to is Disclosure. They released a bunch of songs recently. Eric came out several years ago, so they're due. Anderson .Paak, I thought something was coming given the time frame, and Bubblin's already out, so that I could see that. Little Dicky, another person who, after Freaky Friday's big success, I figured he had an album coming, and I think he still does, but it's been some time. He's going on tour too, so you'd think it's come. Then everything else is just pretty hypothetical. Chance the Rapper, maybe. Good Boy Q, sometime. James Blake, maybe. Stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I think the ones like you just named, Disclosure, Anderson .Paak, Vampire Weekend, the ones that I'm most excited for, but they're not even on the schedule yet. So hopefully we get those. Music's kind of up in the air, but a lot of we'll be talking about a lot of different people, and that might give us a chance to maybe see some new people break out end of the year. So always stay tuned. That's it for us this week. What do we got on the docket next week, Dave?
We'll talk about that Deuce Season 2 premiere for sure. Maybe we'll talk about Jack Ryan. Don't know.
Ooh.
Some films that we're looking forward to. Operation Finale with Oscar Isaac. And I'm going to check out Searching, the John Cho Sundance film. It's getting good reviews. Maybe we'll talk about one of those. But there's a heck by the time you listen to this, there could be an album already announced, so there'll be something.
A lot to get to all the time. If you want to stay up to date, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod. And I'll go to Twitter, give us a follow. And yeah, help us out. Give us feedback. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know your thoughts. We appreciate all the comments left on YouTube, the positive and the not so positive. So keep leaving them. All right. Have a good week.